Hello, you beautiful people. Welcome back to the Long Term Podcast. I'm your host, Advin Villa. Today, we have University of Alberta second year civil engineering co-op student, Hannah Minarchi. We will discuss engineering, being a woman in STEM, mental health and preventing burnout, the importance of hobbies and taking care of yourself, such as fitness, reading, and rest, and travel. Everyone, welcome. That's we're here with Hannah Minarchi. So, yeah, what made you want to pursue Eng out of all the facets that you could have taken? I mean,
That's a question that I get all the time because I think people look at me and they don't assume I'm in engineering. So I would say it's just like, well, okay, originally I wanted to be an architect. And I wanted to do that for the longest time because I loved drawing as a kid. I loved Lego as a kid, all those like things that you hear often from engineers. And I found when I would travel a lot, I loved seeing the different styles of architecture and how different types of architecture communicated different things. So that was my plan for the longest time. But then once I got into high school, I realized I liked the math behind it a lot more. I liked the science behind it a lot more. And I don't want to say it came easier to me, but I just found it much more enjoyable. So then I pivoted from architecture to civil engineering. So it was in the same realm, but something that I found a bit more interesting. And then, yeah, that's kind of how I ended up here. And it was definitely the right decision for me. So that's good.
yeah, what's kind of specifically, I don't really know the difference between architecture and civil eng.
Yeah. So the architect is going to design the building, the bridge, whatever it's going to be. They're going to be responsible for making sure the design meets all the codes and any regulations and that sort of stuff. So I would say it's more of a creative position than the civil engineer. A civil engineer is going to make sure can the building support all the load that it's going to have? What's the structure going to look like? What kind of foundation would it need? And all the more, I don't want to say practical stuff, but the stuff that you don't really think about when a building is being made or a bridge is being made. So just kind of the technical, how is it actually going to work?
Architecture is more about the
Design, yeah.
and civil engineering, it's more about this safety of
Yeah.
it all,
Yeah.
whether the bridge can handle
Yeah,
X amount of pounds or kilograms.
exactly. How is it going to work? It's literally design versus how is this actually going to happen? Yeah.
It's crazy. I see all these structures like as I'm driving around, and you see all the buildings, like you see the houses, and when I go to Edmonton, like the skyscrapers, it's fascinating what the human mind can do.
Right?
And then when it all comes together, you just go inside a building and you look around and it's normal, but there's actually so much work to it.
You don't think about everything that goes into it. Like even this room right now,
Yeah.
like how is it made? What's the structure like? All this sort of thing.
Yeah, look around, like, how is this still up? Like,
Right? After how many years, how is it still?
how is winter not just demolished houses?
Yeah.
Because then there's just the blueprints and you follow that, and
Yeah.
there's just changes, upgrades. And I also often think about the houses that have been built in like the 1900s.
Right.
And some of them are still up to this day. And then you see like those structures in like Rome, right? The Colosseum, and there's this like even the Great Wall of China. Like how did the pyramids?
The pyramids. All of it.
What aspects of the field do you find most intriguing?
I think for myself, I would want to pursue more of a project management type position. I like the team collaboration, and I think more of a, I guess like the buildings, bridges, that sort of stuff. I like the larger scale things. Put it that way. Larger scale is what I'm more interested in. Bridges, buildings, and then the team collaboration within that. Lots of civil engineers can pursue, well, there's structural versus geotechnical, and I want to go structural. So you could do the roads, you could do like stuff you wouldn't think about: sidewalks, tennis courts, like sports
Playgrounds.
playgrounds, all that sort
Yeah.
of stuff. But I want more of like the large scale bridges, buildings, all that stuff.
Skyscrapers.
Skyscrapers, yes.
Like monuments. Just
Yeah.
like places like the Rogers Place.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
The Marriott Hotel, that sort of stuff, yeah.
Wow.
Which,
just because it's more work to it?
well, and I think it's just gonna be more rewarding. I like the idea of being involved in such a large project because I think working on something start to finish as big as that would be, I think that would be just a really cool experience. And I think it's just more interesting to me because there's still that extra bit of design to it. Like Rogers Place has such a unique kind of look to it. And I think being involved in a large scale project like that, where it's a unique kind of project, would be cool.
I actually worked there.
Oh, no way!
Yeah.
You work at
I
Rogers?
set up concerts.
Oh, cool!
Yeah, and I
didn't
look
know that.
around. I do, it's called rigging.
Okay.
And so before the artist comes, we go up on the beams and we hoist up it's like a rope work.
Yeah.
We hoist up the chains and tie them up, and that's where they hang up all the, if you look above, that's where the sound systems is laid out. And yeah, no, looking around, how is that humanly possible?
Right? And that's what I want to find out.
Could you share a memorable project or experience from your studies or co-op work that highlights the practical application of civil engineering principles?
Sure. So I haven't done any co-op work yet. I actually start my job on Monday.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
That's
which
awesome.
is gonna be.
And is that like a
crazy.
full year?
Yeah, it's 8 months.
Okay.
Yeah, so I just finished school actually last Monday, so I have a week
Nice.
off.
Congrats.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, and then I work till December, and then I'm gonna go back to school in January. So I have 8 months off here, which is a pretty long time. And I don't know how I'm gonna go back to school after working for 8 months. But yeah, I haven't done any of the co-op work yet, but I've had the opportunity to do some pretty cool projects at school so far. And we actually just finished one where we had to design a STEM learning facility. And it was just a very basic kind of thing, but it showed us how we have to collaborate within a team and how you have to consider all these different aspects. So one of the main things we had to consider was sustainability. And like, how is this building gonna not increase the massive carbon footprint that already exists? So we had to work with all these different people who were just my peers. We were assigned different jobs, and we had to consider all these things like, how are we gonna make this sustainable? How is this gonna be safe? Who would be using this building? Why would they wanna use this building? What problem do we wanna solve with this building? And I think that kind of opened my eyes to see how much, kind of what we were talking about earlier, like how much actually goes into something like that. So we were really focused on recycling gray water, having lots of living walls, having lots of collaborative spaces, and that sort of thing to just make the building feel welcoming, because I don't know if you've been in any STEM buildings, but they aren't the most aesthetically appealing.
Can you elaborate on that STEM building?
Yeah, so just like any sort of an engineering building, like the U of A engineering campus, it's quite
like
nice.
ETLC?
But yes, ETLC, yeah. But I'm specifically thinking the mechanical engineering building. It's very dark in there, very I don't want to say depressing, but like I wouldn't want to be in there for a long period of time.
Yeah.
And then if you compare it to ECHA, like the nursing building, it's very open, very it just makes you feel more energized. So we were really focused on how we could make this engineering building be a place where you want to be and be a nice place to study.
And this is hypothetical.
Hypothetical, of course,
okay.
Yeah, so we had a budget, and it was just cool to try to work within all these constraints. We did.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we did. Yeah. So we just had to work within all these constraints and all these things and take all these notes, because what we learned in this class is you have to write everything down. If you don't have evidence that something happened, that could become a problem later on should there be an issue with the client or whoever else is involved. You need to have proof that you considered all these different aspects, and you need to have proof when it was considered and who considered it. So especially for this project, we all kept engineering notebooks, and we would take meeting notes and who was assigned what task and did they complete that task or not. And then we were graded on our participation based on that, but in a real life scenario, it would be, should you be sued or some sort of legal issue? You have evidence that
it collapses, and then who's to blame?
Yeah.
Yeah, we've tested this load.
Yeah.
There's no way it would have failed. We've done the math.
Yeah.
This is the proof.
Yeah. Yeah, it was kind of funny with this class too, because our prof really stressed, like, you need to record anything or you will be in trouble. So I think that was ingrained in our brains.
You will get sued.
You will get sued. At some point you will get sued. Yeah. So you better have evidence that you did it.
Because people are always looking for someone to blame.
Exactly.
If a building collapses, if a bridge collapses,
I would be looking for someone to blame too.
No, me too. Someone's gotta come up with an answer with just who is responsible for this dilemma.
Yeah.
And you had mentioned that the environment plays a huge part on the way we feel. And now that you say that, rings so true, because I've been in houses where it's just the design's not really as bright, like the colors don't match up.
Yes,
maybe it's not as clean, and just the walls kind of look wonky.
Yeah.
And it makes you feel...
You feel wonky.
Yeah. It makes you feel some type of way. And yeah, that's why I never really study in... this Cameron Lab, Rutherford.
Yeah.
I don't really like Rutherford.
It's very dark in there, yeah.
Yeah. I like Cam. Lots of windows. Not good for the circadian rhythm.
But yeah, and like elaborating on that, I think that is another reason I wanted to pursue civil engineering, because I realized your space has such an effect on how you work and how you perform. And I think something I learned going into my second year from my first year is having a study space that I like to be in was so important. Because during my first year, my room was being renovated, so I was in our basement and I would just like kind of work at our kitchen table or like on the floor in the basement, and it wasn't the best setup.
It's tough to stay focused.
Yeah. And then this year I was lucky enough to have a room that I was able to design how I like, got a new desk, got some candles, a little lamp, and I really enjoy being in that space now, and I totally romanticize studying, so it makes me want...
You look forward to it.
Yeah, well, look forward to it, that's a strong way to say it. Yeah. But like, it just feels more natural, it feels more relaxing to be in a space where you feel good.
Designing a room where you feel comfortable and it's designed for the purpose that you want it to be. This room is actually my room. I'm committed to the craft. I just pull up like a...
I respect that.
Yeah, no, when I'm still really into running.
Yeah.
I used to have a treadmill here.
Nice.
I think I just morphed my room into whatever I'm interested in.
Passion project, sort of.
Yeah. Like, there used to be so many quotes around here. I just took them all off. But like, quotes about Jesus, quotes about just David Goggins, about like how to never give up. And I have the one quote right there. For the meaning of life differs from man to man, from day to day, and from hour to hour. What matters, therefore, is not the meaning of life in general, but rather the specific meaning of a person's life at any given moment. Because I struggled with purpose, and like I looked around my room like, how do I design it so my environment speaks to me? And so I started putting quotes, and I just read it, and I'm like, cool.
Yeah.
And then I just embodied kind of the environments, because you are... As much as nature is just ingrained in us, and genetically we are made up with all these things that we're born with, we're this height, we look this way, and like creating your own environment, designing it for success, to augment your mind, body, and soul, just proliferates so much productivity.
Yes, totally.
And the people that don't do it are missing out.
I would agree. Yeah.
Yeah, and are there any things you add in your room to kind of motivate you to study, or just...
Well, I think like just having my nice space to be, it just makes me want to be there. So I think that's like my main thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Clean up, open space.
Yes.
You're there, you
Fresh
feel
air.
relaxed. You mentioned candles.
Yes.
The smell as well. And that really just, something about smell, people don't really put enough emphasis on it.
Yeah.
It's huge. And if you walk into your room and it smells like crap and it doesn't, yeah, you're just distracted.
Yeah. And this, it's like whatever candle I had chosen, I only light it when I'm studying. So then
Wow.
it kind of like makes my brain think like, okay, I smell this thing, so I must be studying right now. I must have to focus right now. And if I wanted to light the candle, I better sit down and study if I want my room to smell good.
No exams, no tests. Somebody lights up a candle with the same smell. You just whip out your. You ever heard of classical conditioning?
No.
Well, there's this guy named Pavlov, and he had done a study or an experiment on his dog. Every time he ran.
Pavlov's dog. Yeah.
Yes.
The bell.
Yeah. Just for those of the viewers or listeners that don't know, Pavlov's this guy that paired up the bell with food, and so anytime the scientist Pavlov would ring the bell, the dog would salivate because it would expect the food because it would just pair that up. And with your studying method, you light up that candle.
Yeah.
So now you are just classically conditioned
Yeah.
to be in studying mode.
Yeah.
Probably different parts of your brain probably light up because of your olfactory bulbs just sense that and go,
yeah,
okay, study time.
Study time, yeah.
I mean, a lot of our behavior, right? It's really in the unconscious too, right? Like, so I think doing stuff like that really makes a difference.
Yeah.
Massive.
And you don't even realize it in the moment.
Mm-hmm.
But it totally makes a difference.
Like, there's just so many things that I can't explain. There's just little behaviors that I do, but that make so much of a difference. Like, I journal all the time. There's so many studies that just journaling, putting in your thoughts. But for some reason, it's just so cathartic for me. I can't quite explain it. Like, just little things like that. And how do you see advancements in technology impacting the future of civil engineering, particularly in areas like sustainable infrastructure and smart cities?
Well, I think this year I had the opportunity to work with a lot of the computer programs that I'm going to be using in the future. And my one professor, he was doing a study on construction and how construction workers, the amount of fatigue they go through, and just heat fatigue, lack of water, lack of rest, whatever it may be. But he implemented, and he's working on implementing these trackers that he can put on them and monitor, okay, when is this person getting fatigued? Why are they getting fatigued? And I think just like little things like that makes a huge difference.
Like biomarkers?
Yeah, that sort of thing. I don't know the technical stuff about it. He just briefly mentioned it when he was kind of introducing himself, but I thought that was really cool how a technology like that, I never would have even thought of like monitoring a construction worker and why that might make a difference and how that would be helpful. And then same thing kind of with sustainability, like there's so many different technologies that monitor airflow, water flow, electricity in a building, and then when can it be turned off? Could we turn it off at this point to decrease the power intake? Could you increase the water flow at this time so that you can decrease it at this time? And all those little monitors that you can do is really going to make a building more sustainable because you're going to decrease the amount of power you use, decrease the amount of water you use, and that sort of thing, if that makes sense.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So for the workers, technology, this is just coming in. It's not fully deployed yet.
Yeah, it's just what he was working on for his PhD.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
And then so you have like maybe like a tracker of all the workers. That probably costs a lot of money, but I think in the long run, the productivity would be so much more enhanced.
Yes.
Just seeing the worker bar levels raise, right? If they're maybe it's tracking their cortisol, maybe it's tracking their
Yes.
dopamine levels.
Yes.
Maybe it knows just how fatigued they are through these metrics.
Yeah.
Now you can better decide, okay, do we continue with this project, or can I just send my workers home to sleep, to spend time with their families?
Yes.
Or do we need a rest day, or maybe a day where they come into work and we just eat pizza and celebrate? Because
Yeah.
I think little breaks like those, I've read some studies where it actually boosts productivity by giving your workers just catharsis, just letting them.
Rest is so important.
Yes, and we're gonna talk about
Yeah.
that. And you said ways to enhance the sustainability of electricity, water, heat,
Yes.
right? And just would that be like sensors in the kind of, let's say the light right here, we're not using it. Would
Yeah.
it just sense that nobody's in the room and it would just light up, kind of?
So, what we had learned this past year is all about digital twins. So you could have a physical building, but then you're gonna have a digital version of it existing on your computer. And you're gonna monitor this digital building and simulate traffic through it and simulate all these things. And you're gonna see, based on the digital twin, would decreasing this work, would increasing this work. So there's no, as far as I'm aware, sensors in the physical building. It's more so simulating situations in this digital twin of it.
So like AI?
Yeah, kinda, yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, simulating that, and then based on that, could you physically implement it? Would it even work?
Yeah, because even if it's just 1%
Mm-hmm.
saving electricity, and you
Mm-hmm.
multiply that with the world, that's so
It adds up.
much,
Yeah.
right? So the little inches we can take, the like percentages,
Yeah.
really, really causes a ripple effect, and it would just continue.
Mm-hmm.
That's cool.
Mm-hmm.
It's crazy. Would you ever do your PhD one day? Or master's?
I think about that all the time, and I
Mhm.
honestly don't know.
Mhm.
It's gonna depend if I feel like it after I'm done my 5 years. Do I
mean,
think
you
I want to?
guys have a pretty high hiring rates right after graduating, too,
Yeah.
especially with co-op.
Yeah, especially co-op graduates.
Mhm.
Because lots of times you can kind of set up a job or set up a connection during your schooling, and then you can just go back when you graduate. So
That's awesome.
yeah.
Wow. And hey,
My reaction
Still-
as well.
still shocks me. Just I couldn't do it. I don't know. As a woman in a traditionally male-dominated field, what challenges have you faced, and how have you overcome them?
I'm really lucky that I haven't had any experiences where my identity has prevented me from doing something. I've had no situations with a coworker or superior that has affected me in any sort of way, and that might happen still. Who knows? My career is very young right now, but I think what I've found was that I would just get major imposter syndrome. I would be in a room with maybe 5 other girls and I don't know, 70 guys, and it's like, should I be here right now? Like, there's no one, well, very few people who are like me. Like, why am I in this room when all these other people must have more credibility or qualifications than I do? And I think it was a weird thing for me to have to kind of think about because I never thought like that in high school. I just kind of did my own thing, do whatever. And
It started in university.
It started in university, yeah. I never considered, well, that sounds so bad. I almost said something bad, but I just never worried about what other people thought about me in high school, and I was really lucky to feel like that. But then getting to university in a room full of people who have nothing in common with me except our grades, I was like, this is weird. And it really made me second guess, like, do I even want to be here? Is this the right decision for me? And I bet other people have more qualifications than I do. Their grades must be better than mine. And I think it's so easy to feel like that in engineering because so many classes are curved.
Mhm.
So you're constantly comparing your grade with everybody else. and you're constantly wondering, like, you get your grade back and your next question is going to be, well, what was the average? Because your grade is going to depend on what the average was. So if you're not at it or above it, you're going to feel like pretty crappy for a while after.
Yeah, and for those people that do not know what a class that is curved is, it's when the grades that you receive reflect on the average. So if you got a 90 and majority of the class gets a 60, then that's just easy A.
Mhm.
But if it was the inverse, then you didn't do a good job.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's just pretty much it, right?
Yeah,
Like,
pretty much, yeah.
yeah.
And lots of times I'm very grateful for the curve because it's really hard to get
Mhm.
high grades in some of the classes I'm taking. But yeah, other times it's like total comparison. And I don't know that that's specifically like a female related. Like I'm sure everybody feels like
I've
that.
had the high achievers that come on this podcast have mentioned that.
Yeah.
Giacomo Perry's his name.
Mhm.
He just got accepted to his master's in neuroscience, and he actually talks about being behind because all his friends are just got their interviews from med school, and I'm like, bro, you have a master's.
Yeah.
It seems to be the people that expect a lot who are in the 1%, because you right now being a female in STEM, and you had said that in a room with 70 guys there's only 10 girls.
Mm-hmm.
You still are able to compete, and you're still applying yourself, and if each year people get weeded out, right? And
Mhm.
you're in your second year now, or you just finished your second
Just
year?
finished, so yeah.
Mhm. Imposter syndrome is massive because it's such a big jump each year, especially after arriving in university, where you are acquiring all these responsibilities and you're learning at such an exponential rate.
Mm-hmm.
And just one day you're gonna graduate, and I think it's just gonna keep on coming. And yeah, that's one thing I struggle with too, just being, because it's not you. When you think back in high school, it's like, this is a new person.
Mm-hmm.
And should I be here?
Yeah.
This is just, it's crazy. Why do I deserve
Exactly
this prestige?
Yeah.
Like, there are people out there who want to take my place. Why?
Yeah.
Why me?
Yeah.
Out of all the people in the world.
Mm-hmm.
But then you just can't forget about the hard work you've put in.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think we live in a meritocracy. You put in the work, you bear the fruits of your labor.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
And that kind of goes back to how overcoming those problems, like you have to trust yourself. You have to know that you're putting in the work, you're working as hard as you can, and that's all that matters. You just have to do your best.
Mhm.
You can't compare your work to other people's work because you're not going to feel good after. Even if you're doing more than someone else, you're not going to feel good after. You just have to do what you need, and that's going to take some time to figure out. You're going to need to figure out how much you need to prep for exams, what kind of rest you need. You just need to trust yourself, go with your gut, and understand that you're there for a reason. You deserve to be there, just like everybody else in the room. You don't deserve to be there any less than anybody else in the room, no matter your identity, no matter if you're a woman, guy, whatever. You just need to understand that you deserve it just as much as anybody else. And I think that, not that it was hard to understand that, but it takes some time to get that in your brain and to not default back to, why am I here? Yeah.
And it's that guilt, right? Because I think for deep thinkers such as yourself, you realize just how lucky we all are. Just when you go on the news, there's just all these people suffering. When you walk downtown, or even when I take the 414 or the LRT, right? Then you look around on campus, and being in Sherwood Park too.
Yeah.
I love Sherwood Park. Like,
yeah.
I talk so highly of Sherwood Park.
Yeah.
Like in middle school, I used to be like, what's there to do here? In high school, what's there to do here? Now I'm like, there's nothing going on here, and that's great.
Yeah.
That's why it's so
That's
great.
why
Because
it's
you
good.
can go out on a walk at like 2 a.m. and nobody's gonna bother you.
Yeah.
Is that common in civil or I guess engineering? imposter syndrome from the friends you talked to?
Totally. I think once I started talking to people about it, that's how I was able to kind of move past it because everybody's feeling the same way because
Yeah.
everybody's comparing themselves to each other.
Mm-hmm.
And I was really lucky that I found a fantastic friend group. I found
Mm-hmm.
a group that we all want each other to succeed. We all want everybody to do as well as they can. And talking with them about those deeper feelings is important. And
Mm-hmm.
it feels weird because we just met. Well, not just met, but they're very new friends, but you
Mm-hmm.
bond so quickly because you're going through so many things together that only you guys are going through.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't want to say it's like trauma bonding, but kind of you like
Mm-hmm.
really connect with each other.
Oh, because you guys are going through, in cases, sometimes you have to deprive yourself of sleep because that's just the way it goes for some exams.
Yeah.
That I think my friend had talked about it. He was another engineer that came on here, Matthew, suffering something. Um, Something where it's like a common suffering. This is a term I can't remember what it was. But
Mm-hmm.
because you guys go through just this imposter syndrome, you guys go through, oh, well, what did I get on that test? And just they bombard you with so many classes the first year, and
Mm-hmm.
you're just tested. Just everything about you is tested.
Yeah.
When you talk to these people, you guys just have so much to talk about. You can vent and you can tell them how you might not be good enough because there's going to be doubt that seeps in. There's going to be
Mm-hmm.
a little bit of shame and
Mm-hmm.
just all these feelings coming out. And releasing that to people that do truly understand you, it's amazing. And I feel like a lot of people don't do it enough because
Mm-hmm.
I've recently just started doing it because I used to never do that. Like vulnerability, I think is powerful.
It is powerful.
And when I tell people, oh, when I go to the gym, many times, I've been going for almost like 10 years now,
Mm-hmm.
and I run, I do marathons, and I find like I still have like a lot of insecurities, and I find like I'm constantly comparing myself and whether I deserve this, and
Yes.
being in university, being in Sherwood Park, and instead of keeping it all to myself, I go, maybe there's someone out there that like knows what
Yeah.
I'm going through. And what I found is in the gym, there's people that are just like me,
Yeah.
if not worse. And so that I'm thankful. I go, wow, that person has it so much worse. They do get me though, and I'll listen to them, and it's just a support system, and that's where you guys go up together through
Mm-hmm.
that the bonded suffering.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
literally.
yeah.
Yeah. And
This is beautiful.
especially in
Mhm.
that first year because they are waiting for you to fail.
Yeah.
That's what your first year is.
Mhm.
They're waiting to see if you're going to make it through or not. And it's absolutely horrible that that is how it's set up, but that is what it is.
Yeah.
You, if you make it through, it's like, okay, check mark, these guys are good. They
Mhm.
should continue to be engineers. And then if you don't, that's fine. Maybe you dropped out, maybe you wanted to pursue something else. And I think that's the time to figure it out. You don't want to go anywhere past your first year if you don't want to continue with Eng. But
Mhm.
yeah, they definitely test you in your first year. So talking with people about how challenging it is the way to get through.
Yeah.
And I know I've talked with some other people who in the friend groups they've found they have not been supportive because it is a competition with where everybody's competing in that first year for whichever program they want to get into because it is GPA
But
based.
still, though, it's like five other or one other person, and like what? That's not gonna. If that
Yeah.
person gets a lower mark or higher mark, it doesn't affect you that much.
No.
And the cons for being a friend and supporting each other is so much lower than the pros you get from the study partner and the support and just if you want to hang out, if you
Yeah.
want to just go out for a run, go out for coffee,
Yeah.
and just watch a movie.
Yeah. Yeah.
I had a thought about just connection is just such an important thing that too many university students neglect.
Yeah.
Like I look around in a lot of my lectures and some people don't like make friends.
Mhm.
Like, and it's just like, how do you get through these classes?
Mhm.
Like, it's such an important tool
Yeah.
to utilize.
Yeah. I could honestly say, like, without my friends, I probably wouldn't be here.
Mhm.
Like, you just rely on each other so much, and I think it's a good thing because you can work with each other, you can
It's
teach each
amazing.
other, study with each other, and you, like you were saying, develop such cool connections with these people,
Mhm.
and it's just so important to make
Yeah,
friends. And I know making friends
you'll
is
you'll
hard,
never forget them.
but yeah,
Yeah, yeah. And even if you drop out, you made a friend.
yeah,
You know, you can talk
exactly.
about, hey, what's up? How's Eng going? I'm in education.
Yeah, everything
Um,
happens for a reason, so
yeah, no, I believe that too. And the idea came back again. All human life, we're all equal. Right? No,
100%.
no other human life is over better than the other. And but to get into certain things, you have to put in more effort than the other person. While
Mhm.
human life is equal, building that bridge,
Mhm.
I'm not gonna accept the other guy just because kumbaya. You know,
Yeah.
I'm very, like I'm accepting of everyone. But if it's in professions like engineering,
Mhm.
like medicine, where lives are on the line,
Mhm.
safety,
Yep.
you need Hannah Minarchi, right? Who got
Yeah.
100% in all this grades, than like Steve, who's just half-assing, partying at night,
Yeah.
passing by. You gotta go with the better
The
person.
better
And like,
engineer.
yeah, life is equal, right?
Mhm.
I believe in that. I love all human beings equally, but or not. That's not true. But like all human life is equal. But the safety. That's how we get through
Yeah.
every day without these car crashes and
Yeah.
without these big debacles that occur.
Yeah.
Because human error is something to take into account.
Mhm.
Hmm. Um, have you noticed any positive changes or initiatives in recent years aimed at increasing diversity and inclusion in STEM fields like civil engineering?
Well, there's tons of diversity targeted scholarships, which I think is great. Um, Lots of scholarships. You could be considered a diversity hire if you're a minority, which is great. Lots of clubs and groups that have been formed for minorities in STEM, and I think that is important because it is hard to meet other people if you are a minority. Like, I can't speak for other minorities, but as a woman in engineering, it could be challenging to find other like minded women.
Especially if you're not social. If
Yes.
you're a quiet person, because I'm assuming you take initiative to make friends.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
Most of the time.
yeah. No, I'm the same way. And there's some people that it's hard for them,
Hmm.
right? So there needs to be the clubs and
Yeah,
little opportunities where you can meet people. Because
yeah.
for university, it's just a lot of these people are awkward. You know, that's the reality of it.
Hmm.
But the great people, but it's just hard to connect because everybody's just so closed off sometimes.
Yeah,
But yeah, just liberating to have buddies all around. You see them
yeah,
walk around campus.
yeah. And I think, especially for engineers, because I don't want to generalize, but engineers are generally pretty awkward, not the most social sort of
Same with
people.
comp sci kids.
So when you do find somebody who is willing to take initiative to meet people and do that sort of thing, you wanna hold on to them. You wanna keep them close
Yeah,
and find other people like them. So
it's awesome.
yeah,
That's great. You've built your friend group, and you guys are all gonna graduate together.
yeah, that's the plan.
Hmm. A rising tide lifts all boats.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I like that.
What advice would you give to other young women who are considering pursuing a career in STEM?
Um, I would say just do it.
Hmm.
As weird as that may sound, it's gonna be so worth it. It is gonna be hard,
Hmm.
it's going to be challenging, and you might second guess yourself, but do it. It's so important to make engineering a more inclusive field, and you shouldn't be treated any less because you are a woman in a male dominated field. And the only way to get towards that is to get more women in STEM.
Yeah.
So I think it's just so important to do it and provide younger women with the opportunities to do so. Um, provide different outreach for them, different clubs, like I was saying,
Mhm.
opportunities, just really make it feel inclusive. And I would say that you have to trust yourself. Like I was saying
Mhm.
earlier, you're gonna feel like you don't belong there, but you do.
Mhm.
If you want to be there and you got the grades to be there, then do it.
There you go.
Yeah.
And to know that you're not going to be the only woman there.
Yeah.
And even if you are, then you'd be creating great change.
Yeah. I think it's
Yeah.
so powerful if you are a woman in a group of men.
We revere the individuals that go against the grain, because as a society, we just end up believing a certain thing that, oh, this is for this particular job, it's predominantly by men.
Mm-hmm.
And when you see a woman just go against the grain and go against the societal expectations
Mm-hmm.
and prove everyone wrong,
Mm-hmm.
then it's just so inspiring. And now a
Mm-hmm.
lot of there's gonna be a lot of people that go, oh, like I don't like change. This is
Yeah.
wrong. But it's just who's to stop them from following their dreams, right?
Yeah.
If you got dreams, just follow them.
Yeah.
Yeah. If it makes you happy, it makes you
If it
happy.
makes you happy, then it's worth it.
Yeah, then it's worth it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, nothing worth having comes easy. It's gonna be
Yeah.
a lot of setback. There's gonna be a lot of doubt. There's gonna be a lot of people telling you you can't do it.
Yeah.
But then yeah, just as you said, just go out there, just do it. Because then
Mm-hmm.
you spend so much time just like battling it in your head. What if this? What if that?
Yeah.
You'll only truly know once you're in it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah.
And worrying
Mhm.
about it is just putting yourself through it
Yeah.
twice.
And that's a good segue to the topic about mental health and burnout. Balancing academics, co-op work, and personal life can be demanding.
Mm-hmm.
How do you prioritize your mental well-being and prevent burnout?
I think this is very hard to do when you start because it feels like there are so many things that need to get done and so many relationships that need fostering, but your relationship with yourself should be the most important to start.
Mhm.
You're not going to be a good student if you're not feeling like a good person, if you don't feel like yourself.
Mhm.
And that was a hard pill to swallow for me in the first year because I felt like I constantly had to be studying and I would feel guilty if I wasn't doing work. You take your rest, but then you're like, why am I resting when I have so many things I need to get done?
Mhm.
And I've talked with tons of other people who felt the same way where you've it's literally guilt. You just feel so guilty when you take time for yourself when there are things that need to get done because you think yourself, okay, maybe if I studied an extra half hour, I would have done better on that test. Maybe if I put a little bit extra work into this, I would have gotten a better grade on it. But you need to take care of yourself if you want to do well. And I think you just like need to understand it. It just is part of being a university student, no matter what faculty you're in, no matter what you're pursuing, you need to take care of yourself. And I've found that sitting on the bus to and from campus
Mhm.
for half hour a day, that's half
Mhm.
an hour where I can read. And that is my thing. Like that's what I love to do as a break. And once I started doing that, all of a sudden when I got home, I didn't feel exhausted. I didn't feel upset. I was like, okay, I had some time. I feel good. Now let's get going again. So it's just a balancing act and it's going to be challenging and it's going to be different for everybody, but you need to understand that there is time for it all. And that kind of leads me into how I did it, which is by making a schedule. And my
Mhm.
friends used to laugh at me all the time because
Mhm.
I would schedule in the bus, class,
Schedule.
uh, breakfast, all my
Okay.
meals.
Yeah.
Like I would schedule in everything. And then it got to the point where I could say, okay, I'm setting aside 2 hours to do this assignment. I'm setting aside an hour to do this assignment, whatever it may be. And then I always made sure I had 30 minutes at the end of the day to do whatever I wanted. And usually it was reading, but 30 minutes to just relax, do what I wanted, maybe light a candle that isn't a studying related candle,
Mhm.
and just exist. And it made such a difference because then I would go to sleep not feeling exhausted from the day. I go to sleep feeling happy, and like myself based on whatever I was doing.
Rejuvenated.
Yeah.
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 Well, pursuing our dreams and ambitions, they're all worth it if we sacrifice our mental well-being in the pursuit of it all.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really not worth it.
Mm-hmm.
I've talked to many people that are on 3-4 hours of sleep every night, and they're grinding it out and tremendous work.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just tough to witness just how much it's taken away from their happiness.
Mm-hmm.
And implementing a schedule and a habit ritual
Mm-hmm.
where it is proliferating, it is increasing the chances of your success and well-being
Mm-hmm.
to ensure that your mind is at peace.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Yeah.
not, because if it's working all the time, it's too much, like cognitive overload,
Yeah.
right? And that
100%.
just takes a toll on the other facets of your life. Because
Mhm.
maybe you may be really good at Eng, but then your social life is suffering.
Yeah.
Maybe your hobbies, like playing guitar or just hanging out with just your family,
Yeah.
and those are just important things. Because I also have this. I talk to a lot of old people at the gym, and like they're great. I love them. It's
Mhm.
like they're in their like 70s, 80s, especially in the sauna at like Glen Allen.
Yeah.
And the I ask for a lot of life advice, and what they tell me is just stop worrying. Prioritize your mental health. And these people are retired engineers, nurses, just teachers, whatever you name it, maybe just factory worker, and it seems to be the conclusion that they all make with life. It's all very common. And then I've also uh, read and listened to this girl, this woman that talked to people before they died. I forget which profession that was. Probably a nurse. She was a nurse. Um, but it rings true with the regrets that they do have, and it's prioritizing family and
Mhm.
spending. I wish I spent more time with my friends. I wish I took more risks.
Yeah.
I wish I didn't work so much. And to connect this to just mental health, this is all in there, right?
Mhm.
While we're so busy pursuing the light,
Yeah.
we forget that we are already surrounded by light,
Yeah.
by family, by friends, by food. Like people don't take time to enjoy food
Yeah.
because they're worrying about studying, because they're worrying about the grades. Like, bro, take some time to just sit down, relax. Like
Mhm.
you're in the 1%. I tell that to everyone in uni.
Yeah.
Are there any specific strategies or routines you follow to manage stress during busy periods, like finals? Because
Well, first of all, I think scheduling everything in.
yeah,
That was a big thing for me because it just made me understand that there is enough time in the day to get everything done. And there also is enough time to take a little bit of time for myself. But as far as managing stress during like finals or something, I think um, exercising is so important.
oh yeah,
That is my big brain kind of release. Um, the dopamine, the endorphins you get from
what
that.
do you do?
I like to lift.
Oh wow.
Yeah. Lift. Okay. You know what I mean.
Like,
Um,
how much you bench it now?
but yeah.
Yeah, no, working out is such a relief. Just when you're shutting off your mind
Mhm.
and you just pursue the rigor and the intensity of your body,
Mhm.
your mind just gets that release. The endorphins get all released, and that's why I love it so much. And so
Yeah.
I'll never give it up, and I'll actually sacrifice sleep to lift, to exercise.
Yeah.
Like the past 4 days, I've been pumping these podcasts. Like I've done 5 podcasts in a row,
Oh my
back
gosh.
to back.
That's awesome.
Yeah, no, it's just so many beautiful people out there with their stories to tell. Just like it's all amazing, and I love it so much. I get such a rush from just listening to people and giving them just talking about their passions. And I've been getting like it's very short term, I don't think this is sustainable. I've been getting like 4 or 5 hours of sleep, and for the past 4 days, because I'd wake up, I'd because my mattress is here, and then I'd set it all up before I leave for work because it's at 6 a.m. Wake up at 5 a.m. Do a little bit of journaling, plan everything. 8 hours there. I end at 2:30. I rush back here, so I got like sometimes 10 minutes. 10 minutes to get ready of it all, and then after that I edit and I do everything after the podcast, and then after that, okay, I need to hit the gym, and it's like, do I ensure 8 hours or do I ensure exercise? I'm like, I'm gonna choose exercise because it's just so mentally freeing, and that's what's worked for me. And they said that if you could, or many doctors, scientists have said this, if you could put lifting or exercise, specifically cardiovascular exercises that really get your heart going, increase blood flow in all areas, into a pill, then it would be the best selling drug there is.
I totally believe that.
I believe that.
Yeah.
Because just you look around and the colors just seem brighter, and I feel so relieved, and I
Yes.
feel just so in one with nature and my body.
Yeah.
And to treat the body rigorously keeps the mind steady.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what I found.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it doesn't even have to be lifting or any intense sort of workouts. It could be a walk.
Yeah.
It could be stretching.
Rock climbing.
It could be
Yeah.
whatever you want. And
Mhm.
I've done a lot of reading. So many emotions are stored in different parts of your body, and that sounds kind of weird, but there's different movements you can do to release the stress, to release whatever anger you've built up, and movement is so important for that. So if you can do that, it's going to help your brain. And it's just kind of what it is. Like
Action is important.
Yeah.
I mean, how do we get things done?
Mhm.
We move.
Mhm.
How do we engage in the activities that we love doing?
Yeah.
It's just even studying. You're not moving much, but you're moving. You're getting progress, and to move is to just liberate yourself. And the more you do it,
Yes.
just the better you feel.
Yeah.
And I just want to rest too, and that's where that takes into play later on when we talk about taking care of yourself and hobbies. How do you think universities and workplaces can better support the mental health of students and professionals in STEM fields?
Well, one thing that shocked me when I was first in engineering was they give you all these pamphlets and things, and it's been a joke in my house, like, oh, are you referencing the pamphlets if you're not mentally doing well? Because they're like, call this, talk to these people, go to this room, and there's all these things you can do, but I feel like that is such a last resort. Like, we should be able to have something before people are feeling such extreme emotions. We should be able to stop them from feeling such extreme emotions before, like, before they have to use the pamphlets. I wish there was some sort of wellness place you could go where, I don't know, it's just like, I feel like they're doing a lot of here's what to do when this happens, but nothing to prevent it, if that kind of makes sense.
An ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure.
There you go.
To ensure that you don't get the disease, that you do not fall into the trap of all these just regrets,
Yeah.
because regrets weighs tons and discipline weighs ounces. And to give people the route, the opportunity for prevention before they need to talk to those therapists, the big issues.
Yeah.
You need to be able to instill the prevention first, like just connection, the bond, the little things.
Yeah.
Because those are what matter the most. And I completely agree.
Yeah.
Because we only really approach the what's it called, problems once they intensify at such a high degree,
Yes. Yeah.
and nobody really thinks about, okay, how could this have been prevented?
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I relate that back to diseases too. There's this doctor, his name's Dr. Peter T. I just read his book, Outlive. Great book, amazing. And he talks about the two medicines. There's medicine 2.0 and medicine 3.0. And I forget which one's which, but one of them is prevention, which is talking social bond, sleep, uh, diet, exercise, and these should be made available. This should almost be a requirement for universities and
Yes.
all schools. And medicine 3.0 is just like surgery, like cancer, and you're getting operated, and the all these tumors that grow as a result of not taking care of yourself. And too many people act when it's too late.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that's just tough.
Yeah. I think the university itself needs to take a look and say, if we feel the need to have all these resources available as a quote unquote cure, maybe we need to take a look at what the students are going through, at what whoever is involved is going through, and lessen some of that. Maybe if that engineering workload is causing all this, maybe we can lighten the workload. And like you were saying, just the prevention of it, I think that needs to be stressed more so.
Emphasized. Because a lot of people, it's out there that exercise is good for you, sleep's good for you. But how do we exactly implement that into the busy schedule? Yeah. And people will do something if it's easy for them to do. No one wants to do something hard. No one wants to be challenged when you're already being challenged so much by whatever program you're in. If it is easy and easily accessible, if someone says to you, okay, here's your schedule, you're going to eat at this time, you're going to work out at this time, you're going to sleep at this time, people are going to be 10 times more likely to do it, 100 times more likely to do it than if they're like, hey, you should do these things, but go figure it out for yourself. Yeah, exactly. So I think if, something was implemented like that, where you could say, do these things at this time, and you could do your school at this time, it would make the world of a difference. Yeah, scheduling, just a routine. Because a lot of students I've talked to do not have, like, they're ultra smart. They kind of just go, oh, why would I do that when I could study some more? Or I could do this, do that. If you make that a requirement, imagine. Yeah, that'd be great. That'd be crazy. You mentioned fitness, reading, and rest as important hobbies and ways of taking care of yourself. How do these activities contribute to your overall well-being, and how do you make time for them amidst your academic and work commitments? Well, making time, my schedule, my handy dandy schedule that I love to talk about. But I think it's just so important to be a well-rounded individual, because especially when applying for jobs. That's what I've really learned this year, applying for my co-op position, is your grades are going to get you in the door, your qualifications are going to get you in the door, but you as a person is going to get you the job. People want to have things in common with you. People want to be able to talk to you about things at work that aren't work related. You want to be a person who has hobbies and enjoys doing different things, because you'll collaborate so well with others who have those same interests as you. So I think being able to talk to people about whatever hobbies you may have, or just in general being able to talk to people, it's gonna stem from whichever hobbies you choose and how you choose to spend your time. And if that's just school, well, what can you talk to somebody about who does not know anything about what you study? It's one way to talk about work, and it's another thing to talk about that hobby, that guitar piece you're working on, or that that little trip you took. Yeah. And I feel like you remember those things a lot more when it comes to interacting with people. You don't really sure, you remember things about just school, about work,
Mm-hmm.
but that doesn't really make you connect with others, I
Yes.
find.
Yeah. You
Yeah.
build connection based on shared experiences and
Mm-hmm.
shared interests.
Mm-hmm.
So it's so important to develop those interests so you
Mm-hmm.
can make those connections.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh, at work, I've seen people that just go in there and out, and even with school, just go in and out.
Mm-hmm.
But the importance of taking the time to have check in on, okay, how are you, Janelle? How's your son? How are you, Kim? How are your
Mm-hmm.
two sons that are getting married soon?
Yeah.
Taking time to remember this and storing that in your head, and then in return they remember these things,
Yeah.
and to tie it back into going to school too, when you have there's a 10 of you, 10 girls, or in your friend group.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not just school, it's not
No.
just work.
Yeah.
You could be in any job,
Mm-hmm.
any environment,
Mm-hmm.
but if you're with people who only care about the productivity side of things,
Mm-hmm.
you will dread coming to work.
Yeah.
I I look forward to coming to work because there's this guy named Winston at my work. He's from Jamaica, and he's just so caring. And
Yeah.
like he talks about his family, and there's just so many people like him.
Yeah.
Where you go in, and I do sign work. Like I do those stop signs, yield signs.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, we're the company that manufactures them.
Okay.
And so I get the decals and I apply them to the metal. And it's all very mind-numbing stuff. Just
Right.
you get like a bunch of decals, a bunch of metal, and you
Just a
apply those to.
process. Yeah.
Yeah. But the thing that gets me so excited to go to work is seeing these beautiful people just with their stories, with their
Mm-hmm.
interests,
Mm-hmm.
and the jokes that come out, and the the drama. They don't like drama, but like there's always just drama
Yeah.
like within any workplace. What's that? He said that to you?
Yeah.
And then there's like some, and you gotta navigate through that, and it's just like
Yeah.
all part of the human experience.
Yeah.
And having hobbies as a way to taking care of yourself just augments the interactions that you do have when you do go to school, when you go to work, when you interact with the people, because at the end of the day, they're the ones that matter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you can learn
Mhm.
so many things from people who have
Yeah.
different interests than you.
Yeah.
You can learn things that you may have no interest in, but who knows, maybe that'll come up down the line. You'd be like,
Sure.
oh, hey, I talked to this really cool guy about that once, or whatever it may be. You can just learn things that you would never think to pursue on your own.
I used to never hang out with people that are different than me. Like if you didn't work out, if you weren't interested in the same types of books, same types of
Right.
dialogue that I engage in, same slang, then I wouldn't hang out with you.
Right.
But part of what I've been trying to implement in the last couple of years is just talking to random people, like such as there's people on the bus, people at the gym, and when I engage in conversation with the people that I don't think I would vibe with, what ends up happening is with most of them, we actually get along pretty well, and I learn so much because I'm so unlike that person. They have something, right? Whether it be the laziest person, they're spending all their time on something.
Yeah.
Probably video games, or like maybe they eat a lot of food, and like even if they're overweight, right? Maybe they're really great at something. It doesn't matter their race, religion. There is something that a person is good at, and it's just truly humbling to know that you don't know everything.
Yeah.
And to consolidate that lesson in your psyche is just so helpful when it comes to navigating this chaotic world, because you can just seek another person for help, because that is why they're there.
You can learn something from everybody.
Yeah. Have you found any parallels between your hobbies and your studies or work in civil engineering?
I think just in like the team collaboration sort of stuff. I like exercising in groups of people, whether that's playing sport or just going to the gym with a couple people. I really like, it sounds strange to say working as a team, but like if you're playing a sport, you're working as a team towards a common goal. You're working towards winning your game, whatever it may be. And you can totally apply that to engineering and group projects because everybody's working towards the same goal as you. Everybody wants the same thing. So you can take those experiences, those times you've had trouble working in groups, and you can learn from them and apply it to engineering. I used to play soccer my whole childhood and up until the end of high school.
Phoenix?
No, I played against Phoenix.
Okay. Did you meet them?
Depended on the game. Yeah, so I played soccer and then I was the captain of that team. So I learned a lot about
I'm talking to the captain.
Yeah, I learned a lot about leadership from that and a lot about working with people who don't have the same opinions as you and how can you motivate people to do what you need them to do, to play well in a game? How can you motivate them to put the effort in so that the group succeeds? And that all those experiences were absolutely priceless going into engineering because now I have all this group experience, all this leadership experience, and it seems weird, but it is exactly the same. You're a group and you're trying to.
The same.
Oh.
What's that?
Found this on the web. Siri was listening to me. But yeah, you're in a group and you're trying to achieve a goal, and whatever that goal is, it's the exact same process.
It's not quite the same as being the captain, but I was a vape god in high school.
Right.
You know, I vaped all the time. I liked to party, and I was in a friend group where we just played video games and stuff, and just interacting with people and like being the person that people sought to for just advice and was like a lot of it was just things I shouldn't be doing at that age, right? Because I was just a different person in high school. I was interested in many things and that was not supporting my academic and just well-being. Interaction in all things. You had said that it really taught you how to deal with people by being the captain of your soccer team, because it's not just about the sport. You're dealing with people going, Hannah, like there's this thing that I have going on with this other player. Just it doesn't like I don't think you're gonna launch. She's not passing to me. Like she's just out to get me, and you have to be there, and you have to stop thinking about yourself. And you have to go, okay, how can I, instead of adding fuel to the fire, I gotta ensure to find a solution that is optimal for both these people. Because sure, you can. The best way I used to implement in instances like that was I just take the person's side. Yes, you're right, Hannah. She is a bitch. But what ends up happening is when I do that to people and they start talking, it doesn't add up, and you just add fuel to the fire. And actually, at work, there's these guys fighting, and like these are grown men, okay, and they're telling me about their difficulties with each other, and they just can't get along. And I just listen. I will listen, and I give some advice that is actually helpful, and I go, okay, have you thought maybe he's just stressed about his kid? Maybe he's just. I don't think he meant that. You know, I know he means well. No, he's a great guy. Like I don't think that's what he meant. And maybe he did actually mean malice and like malicious intent, but there's no point in planting that seed to grow, and it would just result in catastrophe. But the people skills, it's something that everyone needs to work on every single day. And as a leader such as yourself, being the captain, it's probably taught you a great deal of just compassion, you know, and finding and diffusing the bomb. Because I've certainly been the type to kind of plant the bomb too, because I was a different breed in high school. But now it just always fires back, and you really have to, instead of bombing bridges, you gotta help repair or build them.
Pun intended.
Pun intended. That makes sense?
Yeah, totally.
Do you think encouraging hobbies and interests outside of academics is important for overall success and happiness? Or I guess we've already touched up on
Yeah.
that. But yeah, what would you say about to the people that are taking school 100%, what would you say to them?
I mean, it's tough because if that's what is important to them, then I think you do it. If you think school 100% is what is most important to you and is what is going to make you the happiest to get that academic validation that we all crave, then that's your prerogative. That's what you're choosing to do. But if you're willing to maybe back it off a little bit, then I would say do it. It's just so important, like I said, to become that well rounded individual that has interests, that has hobbies, likes to do things with their friends, likes to do things with their family, whatever it is. That's how you become this person that people want to work with and people want to collaborate with.
You gotta, if you keep sharpening the sword on that facet of life, you're gonna lag on something. There's always a give and take for everything.
Yeah.
And especially for like workplaces, I've been around the people who are excellent at their job. Excellent.
Yeah.
They're great at the craft and the skill, and their precision is just perfect. But you can't talk to them.
Right.
And would you rather have someone who's like 90% like just as good as the person who's ultra perfect, but you can talk to them, or a person that you can't talk to ever? And actually, what ends up happening is if you got a person that's difficult in a job setting, but they're great at the job, the people that they interact with actually feel depleted, and instead of uplifting each other, they do not feel nourished.
Right.
That's what I've kind of noticed, which is, I think people that do study all the time end up just shooting themselves in the foot because it does end up, and I read this or this divorce attorney podcast I was listening to. His name's James Sexton, and he had said that there's multiple studies where marriage does indicate or not indicate, marriage deciphers how happy you are in later in life, and that ties back into relationships, which I think that's kind of the primary focus. And to neglect that, you're shooting yourself in the foot. So I think that would, sure, it's important, but is it that important? Right?
Yeah. And kind of tying it back to what I was mentioning earlier with soccer is you can learn however many soccer skills you want. It's easy to learn a skill, but it's not easy. You can't learn to be coachable. And people like playing with players, and coaches like working with players that are willing to be coached. And it's the same thing with working in a team on some sort of engineering project. People can learn to do their job. You can teach someone how to do whatever it is they need to do, but you can't teach them to take your advice. You can't teach them to listen to you and be willing to learn from you.
Yeah.
And to do that, you have to be able to talk to them. You have to be able to communicate effectively and clearly. And that is just so important, because it doesn't matter if you're amazing at your job. If you can't communicate what you did to someone who knows nothing about your job, then you failed as an engineer. And that's one of the main things is, how can you explain it to somebody, for example, a client that knows nothing about the mathematical side of it? How can you explain it to them so it makes sense and it makes them trust you? Makes them trust you to do your job. And yeah.
Extending the idea versus engaging in the activity to create the idea are two different things.
Yeah.
Right? Sending it to people to help them understand, because many people with high IQs I've noticed just expect you to understand kind of the mathematical equations that they're spitting out or
Yeah.
the ideas, theories.
Yeah.
And for the average person like me, I need you to dumb it down.
Right.
And you need to be able to add maybe some slang, maybe some lingo.
Yeah.
And I think this Steve Jobs, like he's not really the brain for Apple. He's just the speaker.
Yeah.
And it's this guy named Steve Wozniak. He's kind of the brains to it, and team of programmers.
Mm-hmm.
But to be able to have a vision of how you're gonna change the world, right? That's one thing. Maybe you have great, phenomenal ideas as to
Yeah.
what device you're gonna implement,
Yeah.
such as Apple.
Yeah.
But if you don't have a way to get people inspired, passionate
Mhm.
about what you believe in,
Mm-hmm.
then it's just gonna be you that believes in it
Yeah.
instead of a million people.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's really what separates out people who are gonna make big, massive, world scale change versus the person that won't.
Yeah.
Is being able to concoct an idea and relay it to the average person like me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Uh,
And I think there's a big
Mhm.
difference between being intelligent and being wise. You
yeah.
can be the most intelligent person in the room. You can talk to me in ways I won't understand, and I'll see, wow, that person was very intelligent. That's great for them.
But I probably wouldn't hang out with them.
But yeah. Yeah. But then talking to somebody who has all these deep thoughts and can communicate them to you in a way you can understand, that is a wise person, and
Yeah.
that is a skill that is just so valuable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a communication. We do it so often, and
Mhm.
it's so prevalent. Just
Yeah.
every day. I mean, is there a day where you don't talk to someone? I
Yeah.
mean, like that just unless you live in a cave meditation, that's another topic. But yeah, every day you're just continuously, whether it be if you're not even talking, your body language,
Mhm.
the way you look at someone, the way you go about in the room, like are your shoulders slouched? Are
Yes.
is your eyes like are you looking down on the floor? Is your chin
Yeah.
up?
The way you present yourself.
The way you present yourself, that's how you're gonna communicate yourself to the world.
Yes.
And that's if people won't take you seriously if you don't know how to present yourself.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah. You like traveling, hey?
I do.
Yeah.
Totally unrelated to anything else we've talked about.
Yeah. Have you like no work overseas though? No over.
Not yet.
But
Maybe in the
future.
future, we'll see. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Where you been?
Well, I'm half Italian, so I've been to Italy quite a few times now. We have
Okay.
some family there, and my grandparents have a house there. So we go as often as we can to see our family there. And that's been just amazing. Like, I love it so much. That's kind of the main spot that I've been, but
I've been obsessed lately with Italian movies,
no way.
like The Godfather, like the Mafia. Like, hello, Johnny. Like, no, forget. I've been trying to work on my Godfather voice,
Yeah.
but just I want to visit Sicily. Like, is that safe there? It's not like
I've never been to Sicily,
Okay.
so I can't speak on that. I don't know.
But Italy, like Italians, that's where they originated from, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, beautiful place.
Mhm.
Yeah. And how many times have you been there?
Okay, I was 1.5, 3, 8, 12.
Oh wow, you go often,
6. I've been there
Wow.
6 times. Yeah.
consistently. Like you guys have.
We try to go every
Schedule.
couple years. Yeah. Every like 2 or 3-ish sort of years.
Wow.
Yeah.
You have most of your family still lives there.
All my dad's so both my dad's parents are Italian, and both of them immigrated from there. And my grandpa's family is majority still there.
That's awesome.
So yeah, we've
Yeah,
got lots
no,
of cousins and stuff
I
there.
wish I got that many times in the Philippines.
Mhm.
Yeah. Where else are you gonna travel to or wanting to?
Well, I'd love to see the rest of Europe. I went to Switzerland last summer when we went to Italy, and it was so cool to see how countries so close to each other have like totally different sort of culture, and then that sort of influence you can see along the borders. We went to this one city, I believe it was in Italy still, but you could totally see the Swiss influence on the border there. And I think that was just such a cool thing. I want to go to like Ireland and
Yeah,
that
it's
sort
great.
of area. I mean, I've been to like Hawaii and Mexico and all those sort of like touristy vacation-y spots, but I think just the authentic culture of some of those places is
It's
incredible.
you realize just how different another country is from the next. Just the mannerisms,
Yeah.
the slang,
Yes.
the food,
Yeah.
the teenagers,
Yeah.
the university students, the working class,
Yeah.
just it's just so novel
Yeah.
that every single day you're at a new country. It's just there's so much to learn,
Yes.
right? And you're continuously just working your brain. You're seeing all these structures too,
Mm-hmm.
where it's like, whoa, how did that? Why is that leaning?
Why is that?
Yeah, the
I think I
leaning
know what building
leaning
you're
tower.
talking about.
Yeah. How's that? Should that fall?
Yeah.
You see the Eiffel Tower, and it's like, wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
But kind of circling back to the dialect there and
Yeah.
how different
Mhm.
it is in small
Mhm.
regions,
Mhm.
I've been working really hard on my Italian because all my family that's still in Italy only speak Italian. So we can have very broken kind of conversations to each other, but I would love to be able to speak as fluently as possible to them.
How do you say how are you?
How are you?
Good.
I don't want to speak Italian.
Okay. Well, you'll say it again on a later time.
I'll after the camera turns off. But I'm learning it and I'm learning the proper pronunciation and dialect or whatever. But then I go to my grandpa's from a very small town,
Mhm.
just outside of Rome. So we go there and I can hear my aunties and uncles and everybody talking. I'm like, what are you saying? Because the dialect, the slang, is so different from what I don't want to say what it's supposed to be, but from what I've learned, it's crazy. And then you go to a town 15 minutes away and it's completely different again.
Mhm.
And it's just so strange to hear towns so close to each other and the dialect is entirely different. The
That's
slang's
fascinating.
entirely different.
That's wow. I wonder what that is. Hey, is it just another person from like a different country came and then like just that little pinch of just individual
Mm.
created this lasting change that has lasted centuries?
Mm-hmm.
Because people talk about that with France and people from Quebec, right? They're both French, but they're completely different.
Yeah.
And even with just the Filipinos, and
Right.
like if you go to there's I forget how many islands. There's a lot of islands.
Yeah.
And if you I don't really connect with the main Filipinos because I speak a different dialect.
Yeah.
I speak Bisaya, and most of the other Filipinos that are here, that's the most prevalent language, is Tagalog.
Yeah.
So I didn't really vibe much with the Filipinos, but I was just in the Philippines a couple months back.
Okay.
And they said I had an accent with my Bisaya. That's not as good, right? Because you're continuously speaking English every day eventually.
Yeah.
But then when I was there, it was just so different. Like you go about Short Park, you go on the 414, you look around, very simple, like a very just you know what to expect.
Mhm.
And when you go to a different country, Switzerland,
Mhm.
right? It's like it's just shock to the system. I don't know what it is about traveling.
Yeah.
It's so great. It's just so expensive.
It is.
Yeah.
Do you go to the Philippines often?
Every like 5 years.
Okay.
Yeah. Also went to Australia.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
awesome.
it's great. Weather is amazing.
Yeah.
Where else are you planning to? You said that all across Europe. What
Europe,
about East Asian countries?
I mean, I'd like to go everywhere, honestly, just to see it all. Like Japan, I'd love to see the
Japan's
Japanese
great.
countryside,
Yeah.
cherry blossoms, all that
I
sort
heard they're
of
really clean there.
Yeah?
Yeah, like you can't find any garbage cans nearby. Like if you go to a mall, you'd be struggling to find a garbage can because people just take it home. People are disciplined that way.
I wonder how that, is developed.
Yeah, if you did that here, it'd just be garbage would pull up.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wonder. I always just the mannerisms too. Like I was just in in the US and in December and New York, people were just a lot less nice. I guess that's an understatement. People were assholes right there, but great place, like Times Square, just
Yeah.
absolutely beautiful.
That would be nice.
What do you get out of it?
Out of traveling?
Yeah.
Well, in a selfish sense, I think it's just cool. So cool to say, oh yeah, I went there. Or to have all these pictures from that place and all these try all these different foods and all this sort of thing. But in a more broad sense, I think it's so cool to see how different cultures work and how it all works, but it's so different from each other. Kind of like you were saying, you can see the different disciplines and the different sort of priorities for different cultures. And I think just seeing the different landscape is so beautiful. The mountains and the lakes and all that sort of stuff that you wouldn't see in Sherwood Park, Alberta. Yeah.
My biggest takeaway from visiting the Philippines is the quality of life there is nowhere close to Sherwood Park,
Yes.
but the people are happier.
Yeah.
I was just so surprised at how people felt so connected to each other despite not having as much opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
Like here, we get free healthcare. There's no free healthcare. People
Yeah.
get sick all the time, and if you're a millionaire there, you get sick, you could possibly lose everything because the treatment for it's just so expensive,
Mm-hmm.
and just things like that, right? I think visiting, if I do go to countries, it's mainly for family, and it's mainly to
Yeah.
appreciate, to sober up, I call it.
Yeah.
When I do visit like places like I like going to places like Mexico, and not the resorts. I don't like the resorts.
Yeah.
I like to live in like the people,
Yeah.
their way of life,
Mm-hmm.
and you get to see that these are like some amazing people. These are such beautiful people with all their interests, and they want to help, and
Yeah.
it's just like I always wonder what is it like from their perspective, this
Yeah.
traveler.
Yeah.
So when I see travelers come here, like foreigners, immigrants, and my parents are immigrants. I pretty much grew up here. I always wonder what it's like for them.
What are they thinking?
Yeah, ditching your entire life where you grew up and then traveling to a new country or just visiting. Like, what are they experiencing?
Yeah.
Right? Just like novelty every single day. Like if you take a person from, let's say, Africa and you plunk them right in Sherwood Park, they'd be like, whoa, what is this place?
Mm-hmm.
Right? And they'd be taking pictures at like Millennium. They'd be taking at like West End. When we just see those things and we go, oh, I've been there like 5 times, like 100 times already. But to some people, these can be just monuments, and these can be such amazing structures that they've never seen before. And that's what's given me so much perspective when it comes to traveling, because we often take these things, relate it back to, I always mention structures because you're so the structures, the monuments, these houses, the systems that we have in place, we take it for granted when there's people out there and don't really have that much. Yeah.
And the speed of life is totally different too.
Yeah.
I was listening to.
I like that, the speed of life.
Yeah, I was listening to a podcast the other day, and it's this girl. She immigrated from Turkey, and then she moved to LA, and then to New York, and then she's back in Turkey now. And what she said was, people in places like LA, New York, wherever it may be, these big hubs, these big city centers, people are moving so quickly. It's all about climbing the corporate ladder. It's all about kind of check marking everything. Just like, okay, house, check mark, job, check mark, husband, wife, spouse, whatever, check mark. When in the places such as Turkey, just for this example, you take every day so slow. No one's rushing. Everything is, you get there when you get there. It's all about living in the moment rather than looking 10 steps ahead. And I don't know if one's better than the other. I think a balance is good. But I always think, like, what you have right now is what you used to pray for. And I think we forget about that. You're constantly thinking, oh, I wish I had this. I wish I had this. Whether it's a job or a material possession, whatever it may be. But then you think back and it's like, well, a year ago, I wanted to be exactly where I am right now. And you don't sit back and just soak that in.
Revel in the moment.
Yeah.
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 That's amazing. I struggle with that.
Me too.
Just being present, because back when I was just at the first podcast, it was so stressful. I didn't know what I was doing. It was so hopeless, it seemed.
Mm-hmm.
Now I'm on episode 34, and I've been great at, it's been good.
Mm-hmm.
Even with university, right? We were just in high school not that long ago. We were just in elementary.
Yeah.
And when we were that age, we were going, oh, it'd be nice to be a university student. It'd be nice to be this person of higher status, wealth, fame.
Yeah.
But then you realize once you're there, it's the same.
Like, you're still you.
Yeah, you're still you. And that's why I always kind of want to emphasize to people that you don't need to work to be loved. Like, as long as you treat your family, you're there. You don't need to be an engineer. You don't need to be
not at all.
to run marathons, to exercise. You do these things because they're fun, they're great. But to be accepted, to the meaning of life for me, what I've realized is just to be there for friends and family. And even if I'm stripped of all my power, prestige, and that's my biggest fear. Will I still be loved if I don't have a job, if I didn't go to school, if I didn't have this charisma? And I go, yeah, that's the one thing that really matters. I think at the end of the day, sure, traveling's cool, sure, just getting a good grade's cool, but it's the best thing is being loved unconditionally by another being. And I think that's that's pretty much everything.
Awesome.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me.
Coming on the podcast. This was a great conversation. Yeah, I've learned so much.
I've learned so much too.
Yeah. This
awesome.
is Hannah Minarchi, everyone. Pronounce that right?
Yep.
And as always, to everyone watching, listening, there is a place for you in this chaotic world. Never lose hope. Keep going. Keep it long term. Peace.